Welcome to the first episode of the Interview with Agu. This is going to be an ongoing series trying to highlight some of South Africa's finest individuals. We'll be talking about life, passion, ambition, goals, and everything in between. This is just a reminder that if you want to be on the podcast, all are welcome and all are invited. Just fill in the Google form on any of our platforms. But let's go to our first candidate. He is a University of Cape Town graduate in actuarial sciences, currently working at the esteemed Constellation Capital Institute. He has donned many titles, such as derivatives and equity analyst, bartender, the Limpopo men's hockey team captain, Stanford Lake College leader and head of house, half marathon runner, football fanatic, and probably his most cherished title, God-fearing Christian. But most recently has donned the title of my close and personal friend, a soldier of whom I do life and I appreciate greatly in this phase of mine. But let's see if he's a suitable candidate for the show. Nsuku Muyimane, welcome to the show.
Hi, my name is Nsuku Muyimane. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me, Agu.
Welcome, dude. Are you excited?
Very excited.
You nervous?
Not at all.
Not at all? Well, let's see. We've taken a look at your CV.
Okay.
We're quite impressed.
Is it?
We have a few questions on things that we want to chat to you about.
Talk to me.
So I want to start us off with saying I wanted to avoid talking about religion in the early stages of the podcast to avoid the polarizing nature of the topic.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like I would be doing a great disservice to you by not acknowledging your faith. Many of us aren't often given the platform to talk about our faith openly. So I got a couple of questions here for you regarding the faith, and I want you to answer them as best you can. You down for it?
Try my best.
Okay. So a lot of people these days, secular, religious as well, kind of battle the idea of what is the role of faith in the world right now. You know, I feel like a lot of the secular world wants to separate the idea of the church and the government. And rightfully so, seeing as there's a lot of controversies in the past and so on. But I don't think that's what the church wants. And, you know, by church, I'm predominantly referring to the Catholic Church, as that is the biggest institute in the world and the one that most people are familiar with. But this can refer to any church. You know, the ones that we attend, none of us are Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I want to know, what's your opinion on how can the church be more involved in people's lives, especially people that have turned away from the faith or have been, you know, turned off from it by bad actors of the faith? What can the church do to still have that impact in its life or impact in the lives of others, but not encroach on people's rights?
I think mainly the first thing about being a Christian in the church is to be human first. I think it should be a space where you can welcome people to come and they can pour out their problems, they can pour out their emotions, they can have a space in which they can find advice, because it needs to be a space where you want to see good people. Just like as you go to a therapist when, you know, you have maybe a mental issue, you go to a doctor when you're sick. I think it should be a place to go when you're facing challenges in life and you go and you seek advice from people which have gone through similar situations and have gone through similar circumstances and, you know, are able to be a guide. And I think it also should start with the church looking at themselves. I really do believe that it'll be very hard for outsiders to look in and see that if the church is not united, if the church is not following really the true essence of what it means to be a Christian, it'll be very hard for other people to come through and try and embody that same characteristics. So I think it really does come down to being human first, you know, trying to interact and connect with someone on a human level before trying to shove, you know, truth down their throat. Because something I read recently is truth without grace is just very harsh, you know. But in the element you need, with grace without truth is just being kind. You know, you're not really being honest with the person. So I think you need a combination of the two. You need that truth that you need to be able to spread of what really life is about, how you should be, how you should move. But there should be some grace with it. And that grace comes with being human first, you know, relating to people on a more human level before trying to shove rules and regulations down their throat, you know, understanding people.
Yeah, it's super interesting because that's the approach from the perspective of people in the church, not necessarily from the church's perspective, right? Because people forget, like, the church is an organized entity that is involved in society. Mm-hmm. And it did used to be a lot more involved, maybe to its detriment, maybe that led to some corruption and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I do think there is a need for them to have more public-facing people. Because right now, the only person you know really in the church is like the Pope and no one else. Well, then back in the day, like the biggest contributors to the church, and by church now I'm meaning exclusively the Catholic Church, as that was the only one around back then, was actually people outside of the church. You know, I think of St. Thomas Aquinas, who was not, he didn't, to my knowledge at least, he didn't give sermons, he didn't preach at the church, but he was one of the founders of it. And like to this day, the Summa Theologica is one of the books I recommend most to people when they get into, or when they want to get into religion, right? Mm-hmm. I think the Catholic Church has lost that a little bit. It's kind of strayed away from academia because academia has bitten it a few times.
Yeah.
With like the new atheist people that came around in the early 2000s and whatnot. But there's a lot of like figures now that embody the church very well that aren't really represented by them. You know, Westhoff and is it Cliff Connectley?
Yeah, Cliff. Yeah, I know Cliff.
Cliff
Yeah.
Connectley.
Yeah.
And some other people that they belong to their own denominations, but they don't really represent the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
I think there should maybe be an attempt of like the Catholic Church to wrap their arms around these people, bring them in, have open conversations with them, because they can probably be the best representatives for the Catholic Church, even though they're not officially a part of it.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
To a certain extent, I feel like if the main goal, which is for the church and the Catholic Church, like it is part of, I'll say, Christianity, we're on the same team. And because they do have such a history and a global presence in our world today, I think it would be a good access for people to get into it and to embody like Christianity and the government and the church, you know, being more of a unified presence. I think it could be a good idea. I'm not 100% sure, but it's up for debate. I don't have the answers right now, but I'm hearing you, and I think it could be a very good development. We need people who in public places who have a strong opinion and strong influence to, you know, be a part of the church, you know, to work together with the church. I think that could be a fantastic idea, you know. It's just representative because they're in the forefront of the media and all that. And if people can see the type of person they are and, you know, the ideologies and, you know, what they believe in, and if that aligns with the church, even if you don't want a brand name, like that's where you belong, so to say, but you follow the same ideas on a broader scale within the Christianity, you know, spectrum. I think it could be a good stepping stone for people just to explore and be open to that idea.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like the people are viewed as very secular, and secular views aren't very popular in Christianity right now. But there's a lot of secular people.
Yeah.
So, you know, appeal to apples of apples kind of thing. But I guess it's not all doom and gloom. And I want to read some stats here that might cheer you up a little bit. So there's this article by a guy called, his name's Theo, but he has an article called Theo's Think Tank, where he just discusses things of this nature, religion and politics and so on. And he recently wrote a piece on, you know, is Christianity growing again? And he referenced some very interesting stats. So in the demographic of people aged 18 to 24 in the UK, the number of people who claim to believe in God had risen from 16% in August 2021 to 45% in August 2025. So that's an increase of about 29% odd. People aged 25 to 49 had also grown from 21% to 33%. In America, it was found people who claimed to have made a personal commitment to Jesus that is still important to their life had risen from 54% in 2021 to 66% in 2025. With the biggest increase coming in Gen Z men rising by 19% and millennial men rising by 15%. So I kind of want to ask you, why do you think the Western world seems to be coming back to Christianity? And why do you think it seems, at least in America, that it's actually majority men that are coming back to it right now?
I definitely think there is a global revival in Christianity. I think we're heading to a space where there's a lot of dark cloud over the world. There's a lot of uncertainty, and I think what I also read recently, or read last year actually, when I was going through a phase, is pain could be, or it's in Ecclesiastes where the author says like he values pain more than pleasure. It's because, you know, when you are in a painful place, it can lead you to find something to, you know, hold on to, you know, something to grab onto, something to save you. And I think, especially coming out of COVID and the aftermath of that, people are looking for something more fulfilling. You know, people had time to sit down and think and be in their thoughts and be in the house. You know, people's relatives, family members, friends passed away. You know, people were going through like such a horrible time. I think, you know, that pain does lead you to want to explore and ask the question, like, what is the point of life? Why am I going through certain things, you know? And that's where God reveals himself to people, you know. It did take an unfortunate experience for me as well to see that light. You know, sometimes life can be out of your control. And if you look at the state of the world right now, like we're at a very big turning point. I think there's a big division between, I think, men and women specifically as well, and just like the government and the people. Like there's a very big dichotomy. There's a very big separation and gap between, ideas and people. So I think people are just trying to seek something less, media driven, less of what they've seen like in the past and more something, within themselves. And that could lead to maybe a spiritual journey. So I do believe, like, especially with men, I think that, I think since the late 90s, it's been a very tough period for men, in terms of, like, I'm not against women like getting their own independence and women, doing their own thing.
Being pro-man is not being anti-woman.
Yes. But it does impose, especially with media and, a whole lot of stuff like, having access to stuff on the internet, X-rated stuff. Like, it has really brought down what really I would think a man should be. So there's left side of saying you're not a man, I can do stuff for myself, and there's the other side saying, when I'm vulnerable and I'm a certain way, you think less of a man, and therefore, the image of a man is really construed. People are just trying to look for something, trying to just grab on to something to get them out of, the space that they're in.
Yeah, I heard a really interesting thought on this, where someone talking from the American perspective, especially this demographic of like aged 18 to 24, the really young people, Gen Z people, especially in America, what happened was they were brought up when the world was kind of like, America is the powerhouse. America runs everything. America is the gold standard for things. And they were told their whole life how great America is. And America even branched out to try and help other countries, provide relief, assist in wars, help South Vietnam and South Korea and stuff like that. And now we've entered this place where everything's really not turning up roses for anybody, you know? And I think people in America are kind of feeling done in by the government, They've been preached the whole time that it's this amazing place, and they're not seeing the benefits of that. But they're seeing, as recently as Trump invading Venezuela, they see a lot of like care, or not care, but attention and funding going into external politics and not feeling the same attention applied to them. And I think that's a big contributing factor to Americans turning towards Christianity or turning towards religion in general, right? This isn't like a exclusivistic chat, because it feels like they've been done in by the government and they're looking for something that they feel won't do them in. Another thing that's maybe more controversial is there's been a lot of mass migration to the UK in particular and America. And one of the interesting things for me is at the end of that new atheist movement, they had that one study that they loved referencing where they said, there's a correlation between intelligence and atheism.
Okay.
And that study was flaunted around a lot in the early 2000s. And recently they decided to redo the study. And what they found was it's not necessarily true and depends how you track it and where you track it. And in some cases, that's actually a correlation between intelligence and religious affiliation. And what they found was actually the main contributing factor to people leaving their religious faith was a lack of credibility. So the idea that they don't see other people actively practicing their faith, it makes them less likely to practice it. And that harkens true to a lot of things. I mean, if you think of the start of Christianity, it was martyrs that made Christianity popular, right? And it was very easy for people to believe when they saw other people willing to die for that same belief.
100%.
And with the mass migration of people from the Middle East, they have strong credibility. They are willing to pray 5 times a day, mosque every single Friday, wear traditional garments, the Jeep, everything, not eat pork, not drink. And seeing other people so sure in their faith has probably led to people of America and England or the UK to see, okay, maybe there's something more to it. And maybe exploring Islam doesn't satisfy the itch. For a lot of people, it does.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people turn back to what they already know, which is what they were brought up with, which is Christianity as it was taught in schools for such a long time. I think that has a huge contribution. But on the topic of Europe, I want to discuss like one final point, and this is from the Pew Research Center. If you're not familiar with them, the Pew Research Center does a lot of religious and demographic studies across the world. And they release some censuses every couple of years, and they released a census in 2020, where they found of the entire Christian population on Earth, Sub-Saharan Africa had the largest percentage of Christians at 30.7%. Latin America was second at 24.1%, and Europe was at third at 22.3%. But this is down significantly from 25.8% in 2010. Historically, I think Christianity is viewed as the white man's religion, or if you want to put it in a less controversial way, at least the European man's religion.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's a case that now it seems to have kind of shifted, and it seems more that third world countries are leaning into religion while first world countries are leaning into secularism?
The first thing that pops in my mind would be that I think life in Europe has become, for the lack of word, is easy. So to say, you can get through life without needing, I would say, like a spiritual
Element?
yeah, a spiritual element to it. You know, like if every day you live in life, you got free healthcare maybe or whatever, and you know everything. So I just need to go to uni, get a job, and I'm sorted like for the rest of my life. There's no aspect of like I need to turn to something. You know, like when I'm in a space where I just need like help. You know, trouble. I think when you realize if you've got all these material things that you can work with, there's no need for a God or a savior. Like I'm good on earth, and you know I've satisfied all my desires to some certain extent. And I think the struggles within Africa, so to say, is that I think it's been pushed to know that your life is not completely like done here on earth. Like obviously you have a short period of time which you be living on earth. You may suffer for now, but there's something beyond. And that gives people hope. That gives people like more of like, okay, cool, like my circumstances right now where I'm and my surroundings may not be the greatest, but like, you know, I'm just gonna enjoy life to the fullest and I'm gonna keep trying doing that, knowing that there's a greater reward for me in eternity. Well, that's just from my point of view, I would sort of say.
I was going to ask, do you
Yeah.
think the most prominent part of your faith, what faith means to you,
Yeah.
is someone there while you struggle, knowing you're not alone through things?
Yes, because I feel like I do believe like the difference between someone who hasn't experienced Christ or someone who has, I think is in terms of living life, we'll all go through the same troubles, you know, we'll all face similar battles, but there is an internal peace knowing that there's someone there to help you, and that you know you are looking forward to something. There's a hope, you know, there's a future, that whatever is going on in my life, it's for a plan and a purpose, and it's going to turn out for the benefit of either maybe now on earth or eternally in my soul. I can keep hold to that, and even when I'm struggling, I'm going through something, you know, there's someone who's done this before and is there with me, you know. But also the fact that like you, without a personal like really encounter, like you really can wonder going through life with the void, you know, trying to fill it with other things, and you get to a point where you realize like none of that really like does satisfy you. um and then you realize like, well, when you get to that encounter, you realize this is touching my soul in a way that I've never felt before. Like it's not anything near than drugs, the sex, the partying, the whatever, you know. You get to that point where it's like, okay, cool, like
There's
this is,
something more.
yeah, there's something like this feels like where I'm supposed to go and what I'm supposed to do, what I'm supposed to seek. And the more you do it, the more you see the fruits of that, you know. And at the end of the day, I feel like it's just a very good way to live. Like, it's very hard to see why you would not wanna, you know, follow something that says, you know, love everybody, be kind, you know, look like, you know, look at yourself before creating a brother, you know, help a brother when he's in need, you know, pray for people. Do like it's very, for me it's like it's
Mhm. Yeah, there's a philosopher from I
yeah,
think the 1800s that kind of spoke to this, where he was an avid Christian,
yeah,
but he was raised by two priests,
yeah,
and his whole branch of philosophy kind of goes around. I don't believe in Christianity, but if you follow the tenets of Christianity, it leads to a pretty good life.
yeah,
And you know, if that's the starting point for people, then I'm quite okay with that. I think
yeah,
there's this very interesting take by I believe his name is Arthur Brooks, who he says, if you don't believe, you know, we don't tell people get fit and then go to the gym. We tell people go to the gym and you'll get fit. Same thing is like you don't have faith first, you act first, and then the faith comes with. So he encourages people like try reading the Bible and try going to a few like sermons, try going to a Bible study, and you'll see yourself starting to believe naturally. You don't have to believe first to go there. But maybe transition to a bit of a lighthearted topic.
okay,
Aside from your faith, it seems like the next biggest love in your life seems to be football. When asked who some of your role models were, you answered Cristiano Ronaldo. And when asked for organizations you support, you put Checkers, Mowbray, and Manchester United. You do know that section was meant to be for like charities and other organizations like that.
I'm supporting families. Texas Wilbury needs my income. there's people, there's groundsmen, there's the owners.
Fair
Yeah.
enough, fair enough. But I do think there is
Yeah.
something to be said about the beautiful game. It is the
Yeah.
most popular sport on the planet for a big reason.
100%.
And I kind of want you to actually speak about why you think soccer appeals or football appeals to so many people,
Mm.
and maybe also speak to the ability of sports to unite people and bring them together.
Oh, I love football because again it does teach a lot of elements of um, leadership, elements of just being a good sportsman or
Community.
community. Yes. All of that stuff included. Like it's a very good sport to teach kids, adults, all of that. It does unite people. Obviously, it does have its downfalls. Like when your team's losing, you know, having that, like, also it does humble you at times. Like you might think you're the best player in the world, but then you find a team that just trumps you because they have good teamwork. It does humble you. It does show you like certain things. It does give you a way of life of living.
Abrasiveness as well to get
Yeah.
through those hard times.
It's all of that included, and I think it also is just a good way to keep yourself active without doing strenuous activity where your mind is just on.
Yeah.
I need to get this rep in, or I need to just run 100 more meters. I feel like it's a very good way to keep your mind very like engaged, and also just like open as well. Like you find yourself like the whole 90 minutes of football game, I'm nothing but anything but just in a flow state, and
Yeah.
you come out of that so euphoric, so happy, regardless of the result. Like I did 90 minutes of running, and you know I
Still
can
lost
take
the
that.
game.
Yeah, I still lost the game. I can still take that.
Yeah.
I can still take that. Yeah,
I think the beautiful thing about football
Yeah.
in specific is like the low barrier to entry. on
as
everything.
well, 100%.
That's also why basketball is starting to become more popular in Africa and Europe. It's just because you got a hoop somewhere you can play.
Yeah.
It's football's popular in Africa because you got anything ball resemblant.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even need the whole shebang, bro. You can just get a couple bread rolls,
You put-
plastics, and
Primary school, you put
Yeah.
one shoe on one side, one shoe on the other, and
exactly.
you just go.
And you just go, man. It's just go, like that's
Yeah.
proper stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I also want to speak a little bit to the rise of football recently
Yeah.
in South Africa because as we're recording this, Bafana Bafana have qualified for the World Cup. Just got knocked out of AFCON, the quarterfinals against Cameroon. Heartbreaking fashion. I think some of those goals were unnecessary.
Yeah.
The second one in particular, right out the second half, really took the winner of our sails.
Yeah.
But I actually want you to speak to like why do you think the football team, South African football team, has improved so much in recent times? Do you think it's a combination of structural changes they've had, good coaching, or maybe the emergence of good players like Lyle Foster? What's been the main contributor to the rise in football? Or rise of the success of the football team, rather. And what are your humble predictions for our performance in the World Cup?
To answer your first question, what contributes to the rise of South African football? I think it would be both structural and just the rise of like we have a bit of a golden generation coming through. I do think the political and structural environment has contributed to that because the money is flowing to the right places, giving access and opportunities to the right players and the right people. And more media presence has been able to give players opportunity to go play overseas and just to enable kids who have dreams, when they see that, they train harder, they go to those trials, getting into those teams. Yeah.
Maybe just a question on that. Do you think that the South African PSL will ever be able to rise to levels or rise to a higher level where people don't need to go overseas anymore and endemic talent is good enough to feed the league and feed the money and everything and improve the state? Or do you think we're kind of doomed because of how rampant corruption is in the sports world here in South Africa?
I think there's definitely potential. There's definitely, I think, like for countries, if you look at like South America, a country like South America, they have really good homegrown players that play obviously in the European leagues and everything. I think we're on a similar trend where we could produce a very like good amount of like good quality players, and obviously with just the political and the economical environment which we're in, players want to feed their families. I feel like it'll be very tough for someone to turn down that sort of money to change their life to go play in Europe. It's not bad. Like you're playing in a top league, you're getting that exposure. It brings more exposure to South Africa. I just think it will take a lot of change within our systems and our economy for players to stay in South Africa. But I do think like we we have the potential. Like that's the thing with South Africa. There's so much potential. Like you can see it. One or two come through, but if you want this to be like on a huge scale, like it has to start with the guys who are controlling the league. Like it has to start from the grassroots. We got players in England who are like Chelsea football clubs from the time they're 9 years old, 8 years old. Like it's very hard to see that in South Africa if you don't have an institution supporting these people. They can go to the academy, go to school and play football, get fed. All of that is through the institution, it's through the academy. Like it's very hard for South African government if there's not the right money flowing, if there's not the right people, investing in that aspect.
Yeah, I always find it funny because, like places in Europe, you have well-established football teams in the middle of like farmlands, But in South Africa, like I always felt bad for people that played for Polokwane FC. Like the stadium is in a literal township.
Yeah.
They don't really get funded that much. They have to then live in Polokwane, which is not every man's dream.
Yeah.
But Jamie, just to wrap that off, your predictions for the World Cup.
My predictions for the World Cup. Seeing our football in the AFCON specifically and just like leading up to it, I think we could definitely make it to the like the knockout stages via like best 13 place or even like a second place. Like I feel like we just need to get there with the idea of we're gonna attack teams, and like I think we shouldn't come there with a mindset that we gonna have to do some defensive tactics and like lay back and just like really just try catch and draw or something. Like I feel like the players, they play their best when they're attacking the opposition, when they're really going for goal. I'd rather see our team lose like 3-1 than like try fight for a draw and lose 1-0,
Yeah, the thing is that first game against Mexico is going to be the determining factor, right? Because if we lose against Mexico, then the pressure is too much for the next game. But if we can get a draw out of Mexico, even God forbid a win, then we put ourselves in a bit more of a comfortable position and you can play with forward motion. But yeah, it's all up to that first opening game, man, as it always has been.
I really want to be there. I'm planning on
trying to make it, dude.
In Mexico.
Hey, Mexico's a hell of a place, dude.
Yes.
Maybe just to finish up the football, there's going to be you're going to get a bit more of a taste for this later on, but just to give you a preview, we're going to do a lightning round question. So this means I'm going to ask it to you. You got 15 seconds to answer. Once you answer it, you can't change your mind. You can't undo it. It's going to be put into internet history forever. So pick wisely. Question
15
is
seconds.
15 seconds. Question is, if Messi, Ronaldo, Pele, and Maradona did not exist, who would be on the Mount Rushmore of football?
If Messi, Ronaldo,
Pele.
Ronaldo as in
Cristiano.
Okay. Mount Rushmore. I would go Neymar.
Interesting.
Kaká. And how many people are on Mount Rushmore? 3 or 4?
4.
4. Okay. That makes it better. Neymar, Kaká, the Brazilian Ronaldo, and
You're missing some big names, man.
Don't fight me on this. Don't fight me on this. But I think I might go Wayne Rooney.
That Man United bias is coming in heavy, huh? You just completely excluded the French. No Zinedine Zidane, no Thierry Henry.
Okay, you can put Zidane.
No, you can't override it now. It's too late.
Okay, but not Thierry Henry. Not anyone else.
Okay. Maybe shift to a different topic completely. I want to speak about role models for a moment because I think sadly that there's not a lot of role models left in society, both for men and women. I think the fact that we've kind of outsourced role models to being celebrities has kind of removed what role models used to be. We've now also isolated people, removed the sense of community. When role models used to be neighbors, colleagues, family members, people in your clubs, not one's clubs, hobbies. We don't really have role models anymore. Now it just feels like whoever has a good podcast is a role model. So maybe can you speak to some examples of positive influences you currently have in your life, how they helped shape who you are, and what way to help shape you?
So obviously, like as I mentioned in the PDF when I applied for this, Cristiano Ronaldo, but like that, we can leave that to the side.
Well, let's try to focus on people in your immediate circle. So people in my immediate circle, I would immediately start with
Probably my pastor, Wayne LaRue. He also runs the Run Club. He's just a very, very positive guy. Very inspiring person, what he's doing in the world and, the angle in which he attacks, just living life. He's gone through all the sorts, that a young guy I think would go through. His life is not perfect, so to say, but like I think it's a perfect example for what a young man can be and inspired to be or aspire to be. So,
One of the two.
one of the two.
Maybe before you go on, what's like one quality you want to learn from him or hope rubs off on you from him?
Just the ability to connect with people. I haven't met one person who says, I'm not able to have a conversation with this person. He's a bad guy. Like it's just to connect with people and just be able to understand people just on a human level. And then from there, just being maybe it's like a source of relationship, a source of trust, a source of just community that he brings. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for those of you that don't know the Running Club, and Nsuku's he's referring to the Running Lake Club he runs with his wife Grace. Girlfriend? Wife Grace. Both very kind people.
Yes.
I had a conversation with Wayne before I knew he was the owner of Running Late, and he just treated me like one of the boys. So
yeah,
always appreciate him.
Yeah.
So do you think this aspect of a lack of more personal role models, do you think it's a mistake we've made as people, or do you think there's just a natural evolution of society where since things have become more digital, it makes sense for us to outsource our role models to digital space? Or do you think we have to kind of track back to what it was?
I definitely think we should track back. I think it has been a bit of an illusion. With the rise of social media and the digital space, people only portray like the good qualities, or their successes and their accomplishments are not their entire life. So our idea of what the perfect person or the role model has been really construed because we view certain people on the internet and say, oh, 1, 2, 3, their whole life is going well, they're doing this and this and that. And you look at the people in real life and it's like nobody's really perfect. But like because you see these people day-to-day basis, they may not have all the qualities in which you would want to see in someone, but just because they're not embodying those certain characteristics or only showing those good characteristics, we tend to be like, no, I don't want to be like them, or I don't want to take that aspect from them. I think like, yeah, it's really been shifted and the target's really been moved over the years.
We've created this idea of a perfect person, which is the problem. And now you have to be perfect to be a role model instead of just being,
someone you admire. To take certain qualities from them. I think like you could have different aspects and different qualities that you see in people that you can really bring together and like, oh, I aspire to be him in this sense, or I aspire to be like them in that sense.
How do you think we roll back?
I definitely think it's just being very honest, firstly, on public platforms about life. I'm not saying like post everything about you 24/7. I'm not a big fan of that. You need to be private in some sense. Live a life. Where you're not putting all your drama out for everyone to see. But also just being honest, like not just only flashing. All the good stuff.
Sharing the struggles.
Sharing a bit of the struggles as well. Just being honest with people on those platforms. So they know like my life, it shouldn't be perfect in the sense, I think that would be a very good place to start. And just also just having conversations. I don't think like people have conversations anymore, like between adults and kids. It's all just, I just grew up in your house, I'm on my phone, on your phone, you watch TV, you do this.
You have a surrogate father in some way.
So I think like, just chatting to people and kids chatting to adults, or I won't say not just chatting, listening to each other. Like I think we just need to listen to each other a bit more.
Get off your phone, have a conversation with someone.
Have a conversation, even just sitting in silence sometimes, like just, the presence that you have with someone can really just change. You like just start getting more comfortable with them. You want to be in this space, it takes you away from seeking, that comfort or that seeking that validation from outside sources when you can just be able to be your full self with someone. That can just be like sitting in silence. That can just be watching the same shows, learning, asking questions. That can come with just, sometimes just spending.
Get off your phone.
Time.
Speaking to like adults and younger people or adolescent people just spending time together and learning from one another, Have you ever considered being a role model to someone a little bit younger to you? Because I had this idea in my head where I was like, I'm 25 years old. It feels like I'm still a child.
Yeah.
And what do I know? Then recently at work, I've been given an intern who works under me. And we don't just talk about work advice, we just talk about life advice. And one thing I found is you actually know a lot more about life than you think. You've learned a lot more. And, this kid didn't even know about the 30% rule, like 30%, you should save 30% of your salary away in like a tax-free fund. And I thought that was basic knowledge to most people, but kind of find out most people actually don't know some of the things I know. So I've been considering personally like trying to be more of a mentor in people's lives and how to approach that. I wonder if it's something that you've considered.
I haven't considered in the sense of like I want to just be a role model, like that word in the conventional sense, but I feel like I've come into that role just about being a leader and a servant in my community, my church, being there for people. I find like you kind of just gravitate to having or being someone's role model, even if it's not said aloud. But when you have, for example, like a Bible study, you chat to people, you impart knowledge, they give you knowledge as well. You find maybe a year later they come like, listen, dude, like you really helped me this year. Like it was amazing, like learning from you. And you realize, oh, like I kind of just mentored this guy through the year. And it didn't come as more of like, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna write names down. I want to make sure I'm gonna teach him this and that. It just came with just being in a community where you find yourself just rising into that position, or just like gravitating into certain roles with people. And I think that it should be. I don't think you should deep it too much and just put yourself and make yourself available to, having that position, and let the rest just come.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing about like Bible study groups is that they tend to be of a lot larger of an age range than you expect, right? Like ours in particular, I think the youngest person is just fresh out of varsity, 22, 21, somewhere around there. And like the oldest is close to 30, or I think the oldest is actually 30. And that doesn't seem like a large age gap. Like that's 8 years worth of experience you're imparting onto someone. And some of them go like wider ranges than that. Some people are 19 in a group of like a 42-year-old.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm not saying that all these people are perfect and they have the best advice, but it's good to have exposure to people in different phases of life.
Yeah.
And something really interesting that I found is I recently connected more with someone in my Connect group. And he's the elder statesman of the group. I think he's about 29. 29 or 30, I can never remember. Sorry, Jason, I can't. That's my. But he sat down and he kind of just talked me through stuff because I was going through a tough time.
Yeah.
And I think it was Christmas, I sent him a message, say thank you for like what you've done recently for me and not. And he actually replied like, helping you has helped me realign myself. And I think that's one of the underspoken parts about serving people is you also serve yourself and you feel better about it. So being kind has its benefits, Yeah,
that's 100%. That's exactly what the motto about the church in Wayne says. Like, just the only way you want to grow, or one of the ways you will grow in your spiritual journey and just in life, is by being in community and a service to other people. Because number one, it does force you to look at yourself. You can't tell someone to do certain things and then they look at you and you're doing the complete opposite. So it does force you to really evaluate how you move and what you do.
That's the whole point of this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm doing all this self-help stuff, so I'm forced to listen to it,
Exactly. I think it really does. It pushes you into a position where you got to be like, oh, damn, I got to lock in. Like, I know all this knowledge. Like, it's time to apply it.
Yeah. Take your own medicine.
Take your own medicine. And I think that's really what it is to be a leader. Like, in this sense, I feel like you are a leader. You lead the conversation. But in the sense, you're being available. You're providing a service in which I can come in as well and just speak about, like, what's on my heart, what's on my mind, I don't think it's an issue about being in maybe a position of authority, but, being open to those spaces, being open to, doing stuff like this, being open to speaking to people, being service of them, helping them, and they can turn around and be like, listen, boss man, you did fantastic for me,
Yeah. It's something that I struggle with a lot because I've wanted to do this whole thing for a long time. I think the first time I wanted to start YouTubing, I was like 12 years old. And back then, I wanted to do video game content, and obviously I've grown up.
There's still time.
I don't play games like that anymore.
There's speed.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go play FIFA and call people the R word on stream. That's not my...
One of your games is just for your reaction.
I don't play games anymore, bro. But the thing that always came me back to my mind was, what have I done? Who am I to tell my story?
Yeah.
And now I look back at that and I think that's stupid. I am someone. I will always be someone. And my story, 99% of the world could look at my story and think that doesn't matter. But if that 1% is like, this guy's helped me out, that's 80 million people, you know? So don't underplay who you are. If you are in the bottom 0.01% of interesting people, there's still 800,000 people that will listen to you and learn something. So I've tried to remove my mind from prejudging myself, you know, and caring.
Yeah.
And hopefully that leads to actually helping out people. I told my producer Aiden before, he asked me like, what was the goal with what I'm doing now? And I told him, man, if one kid comes up to me in the mall one day and says, hey man, you helped me turn my life around.
Yeah.
I've done it.
That's amazing.
That's it. You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
That good stuff.
Going from the mental and spiritual health to the physical health.
Okay.
I want to ask you a little bit about your fitness journey. Because if I'm not mistaken, you got into the fitness game a little bit late. It was like around your first year of varsity.
Yeah.
I'm also implicitly excluding, you know, school sports, because that feels like a whole different thing.
Yeah.
That feels like you're more there for a sense of community and not for the personal care of your body.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, what has your fitness journey been like? You know, what kind of shaped it? What motivated it? And also, like, how has it transformed? Because it seems now like you have a holistic approach to it. Has it always been that way, or has it evolved?
100% not. Like, every guy gets to a place where they enter a room and they either feel like the smallest person there
or the fattest person there.
Exactly. So I was in that space and I was like everyone is doing this. Everyone's in the gym. Like, everyone's huge. Like, I was like, what am I doing in my life? Like, first year, obviously, you partying, drinking, everything. I looked in the mirror. I'm like, dude, like, shape up.
Like what you're saying.
Shape up. I wasn't necessarily like overweight or obese or anything, but I was like, you know, like, people are looking good. Like, you know, you gotta lock in, brother. You gotta lock in.
People in Cape Town look good, man. Yeah. People in Cape Town take this seriously.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice you'd recommend to someone sitting in the position you were when they first want to start this journey?
I think just start. I won't even lie to you. Like, don't get the simplest, like, Google like the simplest workout you can ever, like, really like the bro split, and just start. And even in the beginning, like, it's gonna be painful, it's gonna be sore, but that pain just reminds you, like, I feel like my muscles are growing, and like, you've got to remember, like, there's no gain without the pain. Or how does it go?
No pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain. Yeah, exactly. Just start, just crack down, just get in the gym, do what you need to do. Don't look too much left and right, you know, just keep grinding. It's going to take some time. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be sore, but just start. And I feel like what also a bit consumed my, like, or delayed my progress a little bit was just trying to find, always just trying to, like, find something different. Like, I felt like it wasn't working. And then I would Google something, this trend is, you know, people are doing this now. I'll start doing that. And then I find myself now, 4 years later, 5 years later, and I'm back doing the same, like, the plainest things, you know, like, that I started in the beginning, you know.
Yeah.
Just
my big thing is always to people, like, find what you enjoy, you know, because if you enjoy it, like, you're not going to see it as a punishment. I always tell people this. When I tell people to get into fitness and they tell me I hate the gym, I want to, like, strangle them by the neck and shake them a little bit and tell them, like, the gym's not the only form of fitness.
Yeah.
Like, if you're running, that's fitness. If you're playing soccer, that's fitness. If you're playing volleyball, that's fitness.
Yeah.
If you do paddle, karate, kickboxing.
Just do something, yeah.
And, like, if you haven't found something that's stuck, just keep looking. Like, I promise you, there's not a single person on this planet that wouldn't enjoy a single form of exercise. Like, there's something out there for everybody. Yeah. Find that, and then the one thing I do struggle with is trying to convince people to gradually get into it. I actually am starting to think that's a mistake. Because I think, like, what I used to believe was the more gradual you make that entry to the gym or entry to fitness, the easier it is on you. But I think the way people work is different to that framework. I think people like instantaneous change. People like dramatic changes. That's why people do 75 hard, or like, I'm going to start working at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to believe, like, maybe the drastic approach isn't all that bad. You know, if the initial thing that gets you started isn't the most healthy, who cares? At least we're getting started. And then later on, you can fix it up, right? Maybe also, like, another piece of advice I'll give people is to what you said, like, the comparison thing.
Yeah, no.
Body dysmorphia is on the rise. And I also hearken to people, you're not going to look as good as other people. Yeah. Like, your Instagram isn't showing you the top 1% of people. Because if it's showing the top 1%, you see 80 million accounts. You don't. You see 80 accounts. So you're seeing the top 0.0000001% of genetics on that platform or on any platform. So don't think that that's going to be your journey. Like
Not at all.
yeah, like we both. I don't know. You've been lifting now for it's like 7 years now.
Yeah, well, I was 19, 20, so I'm 26 here. 6 years.
Six
yeah,
years.
yeah.
I've been lifting since I was 15.
Yeah.
That's 11 years this year. I don't look insane. I could be doing things better. We all could. I could be dieting better. I could take some steroids maybe, but
Let me know.
let me know. But I think like I'm healthy.
Yeah.
And I'm healthier than most. And that's good enough for me to be happy. Obviously, there's stuff I want to change. I'm not going to stagnate or anything. But it's enough that I don't look at myself in the mirror and hate myself. And I think that's where you should try to get. Don't get obsessed with your body, but don't hate your body,
I think it's adaptation. I feel like, obviously, if the period between, I say like 16 to like 20, 21, when you have the most time, the most energy, or you have everything like access to you, like if you want to look insane and go so hard and so crazy and like your body's a certain way, go for it. But there comes a time when you get old and you start working and you have to change things around. Like you gotta find that sweet spot where you're honestly still doing something and you're still happy with how you look and how you feel, but also like not neglecting everything else in your life.
Yeah, like I definitely think there's other priorities. If you have a family, who cares how much you can bench press, bro? Your kid's unhappy. You go deal with that first.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal a question straight from Chris Williamson's podcast, this next one. So you only have 10 exercises you can do for the rest of your life.
Okay.
Which 10 are you picking and why? And I want to emphasize this exercises. So if you pick like 10 different chest workouts, you don't have any room for cardio. Like cardio, footy, all of those count as exercises. So which 10 are you choosing?
Definitely football. Second would be flat bench.
Flat bench.
Yeah.
It's the king, bro. People underestimate flat bench because it's a bro thing. I promise nothing hits the chest harder.
Yeah, I'll take flat bench. On the bicep, like a seated bicep curl, like spider curl, whatever you understand it. Yeah, and I sit down. I'll probably take pull-ups, push-ups, and tricep, and like the dips, like,
Tricep dips?
Yeah.
You're on 7. Oh, 6. You got
6.
You got 4 more.
I'll take paddle. I don't even lie, paddle's a bit just.
I want to note you've not chosen any legs yet.
Damn, I'm playing soccer.
It's not enough for your legs. There you go.
Like squat. Definitely squat. And then I've got 2 more.
I haven't hit anything dedicated to shoulders yet. You have it as like a secondary muscle and a bunch of these ones, the primary.
Yeah. I feel like if you do all that stuff holistically, you should be fine. Just doing pull-ups properly, you should hit your shoulder.
Wait, no.
I'm telling you, like.
No.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
You're doing pull-ups in the worst way. How is it hitting your shoulders?
You can. If you have a strict form, it can hit the top of your shoulders, like proper. Like if you strict. I'll show you.
You'll show me? I want to see what your sources are, man. That sounds impossible to me.
Trust me. And then I've got 2 more, right? I'd probably do something like I'd cycle.
Cycle?
Yeah, and
Okay, that will actually hit your legs. So
I actually dig cycle. It's just that the seat, so I'll create my own bicycle. And then 1 more, I then put in what I have missing. Okay, plank.
Plank for the core.
Yeah.
Plank, I feel like working out core is the most redundant thing.
No, just do a plank. You tell me 3-minute plank every day.
Just because you feel it doesn't mean it's doing anything.
No. You may not. It's really for core stability. Like stability is the best. I'm telling you.
But if you have a good squat and bench press technique, you're already hitting core.
But that's exactly what I said about the pull-ups. But you need to hit.
No, but the thing is, you don't hit shoulders when you do pull-ups. Obviously we need to start gymming again. You've varied from the correct path here.
Just check out my heavy.
Just check out your heavy. I've been slacking, brother.
Just see the fruits of
labor.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the final set of questions here. We're gonna go into the official lightning round.
Okay.
So I said earlier, you got 10 questions. You have to answer each one.
Yeah.
You can't skip. You can't go back. You can't elaborate.
10 seconds. Okay.
10 seconds. You can't elaborate. You can't repeat an answer. anything you say today will be isolated, or not isolated, but solidified into internet history. You'll never be able to change it. And it will also be a determining factor on whether or not you get this job. So answer wisely. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. Number 1, who are you most grateful for now?
Jesus Christ.
Okay. If you weren't being a derivatives and equity analyst, what would you be doing?
Football manager.
It's a crazy one. What's the next bucket list item you want to kick off?
Travel to Asia.
Okay. Who's the go-to football?
Cristiano Ronaldo.
When was the last time you cried?
January in church.
This year, it's like last week or like last year?
Yeah, this year.
Damn. Okay. Dead or alive, who would you want your last meal to be with?
Paul.
Paul. Interesting. Not your mom or anything.
I want to see him.
I'll see you. Okay. KFC or McDonald's?
KFC.
What personality trait of yours do you dislike the most?
Pride.
Okay. Are you proud of yourself?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay. The final question for all the marbles. What's 47 times 13?
47 times 13.
5, 4, 3, 2.
450 something. I'm like 550 something.
You can't rewrite your answers, but the correct answer was 611. So unfortunately, that was incorrect, Nsuku, and we will not be moving forward with your application. However,
I tried my best.
However, we did heavily enjoy interviewing you today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Shout
You mean a lot to me, and I really appreciate what you are in my life, man.
Shout out. Cheers, man. Thank you.
If any of you would like to be on the show next, please remember you can fill in the form in the description of this video or any of our platforms. Make sure to follow Nsuku on his Instagram, which will also be linked in the description. Follow us on all our platforms, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, and make sure you don't miss an episode. Like, comment, and share the video. And until next time, have a great day.